Grandma unveils shocking secrets of revenge after decades of suffering, and the final twist. Clara lived a peaceful life in Willow Creek, surrounded by the crisp autumn air and the golden leaves fluttering like lost memories. She spent her days enveloped in the sweet smell of old books, organizing shelves, and helping patrons find their escape in stories. Yet, her calm routine came crashing down one chilly afternoon when a sharp knock shattered the serene silence of her library. Standing at her doorstep was a woman with silver hair, eyes like storm clouds, and a presence that instantly ignited a flicker of fear within Clara. It was Beatrice, her estranged grandmother. Clara had only heard whispers about her, a woman shrouded in mystery and rumored to have a past that bent beneath the weight of unfinished business. The air crackled with tension as Beatrice stepped inside, her gaze darting around the cozy little space as if searching for ghosts long buried. "Clara," Beatrice began, her voice tinged with urgency, "there are truths that must be uncovered. Secrets of betrayal. Justice that has been denied for too many years." Clara's heart raced. The warmth of her home felt suddenly cold and heavy. As Beatrice unfolded her tale, Clara's chest tightened. She learned of a dark history, a scandal that had enveloped their family like an unsightly shadow. Decades ago, Beatrice had lost everything to a betrayal that crushed not just her heart, but the fabric of another family. Clara's world shifted as she learned her grandmother had been wronged in the most painful way, leading her down a pathway of seeking revenge that stretched like a tangled web across the decades. And just like that, Clara was swept into a hidden world where justice and retaliation danced dangerously close. Beatrice spoke of names and places that seemed both eerily familiar and foreign, like echoes of a haunting melody. Clara felt her own identity shattering. Each revelation pulled her deeper into a chasm of moral conflict, raising questions about loyalty and the depths of familial duty. Out of nowhere, Beatrice revealed a shocking twist. A distant relative, silent until now, held critical pieces of this puzzle. Clara's heart thudded. Who was this mysterious figure? What role had they played in this intricate saga of vengeance? Were they friend or foe? Clara's emotions spiraled. Anger swelled like a storm inside her, but so did an unsettling curiosity. Could the answers she sought offer peace, or would they only unveil pain? The more Beatrice spoke, the more Clara questioned where her loyalties lay. Was she destined to repeat the patterns of revenge? Or could she break free from this cycle of suffering? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting elongated shadows, Clara stood at a crossroads. The weight of generations pressed down on her, a haunting echo of choices made and paths taken. With each breath, she felt the past lingering, gripping her tightly. Would she have the strength to define her own destiny amid the chaos? Or would she surrender to the age-old thirst for retribution? The answers hung tantalizingly close, yet remained just out of reach, leaving Clara trembling at the threshold of truth and vengeance. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Clara stood frozen, the weight of her grandmother's words wrapping around her like a thick fog. The shadows lengthened, and her heart hammered as she contemplated the life-changing decisions ahead. Beatrice's piercing gaze held secrets like a storm waiting to break. But right then, a loud crash echoed from the back of the library, tearing through the tense silence like a knife. "Stay here!" Clara shouted, instinct taking over as she rushed toward the noise. Her pulse raced, each thud in, her ears drowning out Beatrice's frantic protests. The air felt electric, charged with something ominous. What had followed her grandmother into this sanctuary? As Clara rounded the corner, she came face to face with the scene that would shift their world forever. A heavy bookshelf lay toppled on the ground, its contents scattered like the remnants of a shattered dream. But it wasn't just the mess that sent a chill through her. Among the fallen books lay an old, weathered box, partially opened, revealing a glint of something shiny. With trembling hands, Clara reached for it. Her heart dropped as she pulled out the object. A delicate necklace, the kind made for any family heirloom. But this one had a dark design etched into the metal. Beatrice gasped sharply behind her, the sound sharp enough to slice through the air. "What have you done?" she croaked, eyes wide with something like fear. Clara turned, bewildered. "What's wrong?" "Put it down!" Beatrice's voice rose, harsh and desperate. "You don't understand!" Too late. The box slid across the floor, papers spilling out like confessions waiting to be uncovered. Each one bore names. Names Clara's family had whispered about. Names tied to the betrayal her grandmother had described. And then, in bold letters, one name that shattered everything. Thomas Ravenswood. Terror gripped Clara. The Ravenswoods, the wealthy family who had lived just beyond the creek. Their reputation was stained with scandal and ties to injustice, and Clara suddenly realized they weren't just distant foes. They were her family, too. "What? No," Clara whispered, bile rising in her throat. Why didn't you tell me?" Beatrice's face contorted, a mask of anguish. "I tried to protect you. You were too young. I couldn't let you bear the weight." "But this changes everything!" Clara's voice strained, the truth crashing down like that bookshelf. "All this time, I thought I was just a granddaughter. But I'm part of this. I'm connected to the very betrayal that destroyed you." A heavy silence filled the room. The pieces unraveled too quickly, secrets unspooled before her eyes. Who was she really? Just then, the door swung open, and a tall figure stepped in. Clara's breath caught. It was Elias Ravenswood, the very man who had haunted her nightmares for weeks, his gaze sharp and intense. The very embodiment of everything she had been grappling with. And there he was, standing in the library, as if time had folded in on itself. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice low and full of something she couldn't place. "Anger? Concern?" "Elias," Beatrice hissed, stepping protectively in front of Clara. "You shouldn't be here. This is dangerous." Clara's chest tightened. What was he doing here? What did he know? Tension hung thick in the air, something electric, raw. Clara felt the walls closing in, the truth bleeding into her life like ink on a white page. She breathed hard, grappling with the shock, her heart now a thundering maelstrom of questions. Secrets had twisted their lives together in ways she couldn't begin to comprehend. "What do you want?" Clara demanded, stepping forward, ready for a confrontation. But her voice trembled, uncertainty looming large. Elias's eyes flickered between Clara and Beatrice, a storm brewing within them. "I'm here for the truth, just like you." And in that moment, everything shifted. Clara's world, once steady, hung precariously on the edge of a knife. What truth had he come to find? and what secrets still lay buried, waiting to unleash chaos on their lives. Elias took a step closer, the tension thick between them. "I'm here for the truth, just like you." His words hung in the air, heavy and uncertain. Clara's heart raced as she searched his face, hoping to find answers, longing to sort the shambles of her world. But something flickered in his eyes, a glimmer of recognition mixed with something darker. Beatrice took a breath, a mix of fear and resolve painting her features. "Elias, you don't understand the danger you're in." "Danger?" Clara blurted, her voice sharp. "What danger? What are you talking about?" Before they could respond, a loud thud thundered outside, shaking the foundation of the library. Clara's heart dropped. A dark figure rushed past the window, a shadow among the autumn leaves, and the door burst open. In walked a man, tall and imposing, his face obscured by a hood. Clara's breath caught. He pointed at her, pulling back his hood to reveal a jagged scar running down his cheek. "Clara Ravenswood, you need to come with me." "What?" she gasped, stepping back. "Who are you? What do you want?" The stranger's eyes burned like cold steel. "You're in danger. The secrets you've just unearthed go deeper than you know. Beatrice wasn't your only protector. I'm your guardian too." Beatrice's face blanched, a mix of shock and fury. "No! You don't know her! You can't just—" "Stop!" Clara's voice rose, drowning out their argument, desperation piercing through her confusion. "What is happening?" The man stepped closer, his presence swallowing the air. You have a choice to make, but you have to trust me. You're not safe here, and neither is your grandmother." Clara's mind raced. Trust? With everything unraveling, how could she? Elias watched, a flicker of apprehension in his eyes. "What do you mean she's not safe?" "Those who betrayed Beatrice will stop at nothing to silence the truth. They know that she's here, and now they know you're involved. It's too late for warnings. They're coming." The words thundered in her mind. What truth? What had she stumbled into? As she took a step back, a whirlwind of emotions tangled within her. Fear, anger, uncertainty. "Clara!" Beatrice reached for her, voice shaking with urgency. "You can't trust him. We need to stick together." But then the stranger's cold gaze turned fierce. "The real betrayal runs deeper than blood. You don't even know who your true family is. Clara, do you really think you're part of this legacy? Or just a pawn in their game?" The air shifted, something heavy hanging unspoken. Clara felt the ground beneath her tremble, a crack forming in everything she believed. Her every thought spun wildly. Was she really just a pawn? Elias stepped forward, anger flaring. "You're lying! Clara's not just some game. She's family." "Family?" the stranger sneered. "What do you know about family? The Ravenswoods are cursed, and you're at the center of it all." "What does that mean?" Clara cried, terror gripping. The temperature seemed to drop, shadows dancing around the room. Just then, a chilling sound broke through the tension, a shrill laugh echoing from outside. Clara's blood ran cold. The darkness was closing in. And this wasn't just about secrets anymore. It was about survival. "No," Beatrice whispered, her face turning ashen. Elias turned, his expression shifting to something unreadable. "They're here." Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. Clara's heart hammered. In that moment of chaos, the reality of their situation crashed around her like a tidal wave. Trust had become a weapon, and betrayal was now a reality. "What are we going to do?" she barely whispered, panic clawing at her throat. But the whisper of a danger she couldn't see loomed larger than ever. Would she discover the truth before it swallowed her whole? Or was it already too late? Clara's heart raced, the darkness pressing in, making every breath feel heavier. The echo of the man's claim hung in the air like a thunderclap. She could barely think, her mind swirling with questions. The man's cold gaze, Elias's tense posture, Beatrice's stricken face. Everything felt like a tangled web, pulling tighter. "Who are you?" Clara demanded, the tremor in her voice betraying her fear. "Your guardian. You're part of something much bigger than you realize," the stranger replied, his voice steady, cutting through the chaos. "They won't stop until they find you. Just." Then the lights flickered back to life, casting eerie shadows along the bookshelves. Clara could see Elias's expression shifting between anger and confusion, his eyes darting between her and the stranger. "What do you know about my family?" he challenged. "No time for those answers. We need to move." The urgency in his voice sent a shock of adrenaline coursing through Clara. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" Before the stranger could respond, a loud bang echoed from the back door. Clara's pulse quickened as the sound sliced through her thoughts like a knife. The door burst open, slamming against the wall, and several shadowy figures rushed in, their faces obscured by hoods. "Get down!" Beatrice shouted, instinct kicking in as she pulled Clara behind the nearest bookshelf. Clara pushed herself against the wall, her heart pounding like a drum. She risked a glance around the edge of the shelf. Dark figures moved with precision, searching. "Who are they?" she whispered, panic creeping in. "Enemies of the Ravenswoods. They'll do whatever it takes to silence the truth," the stranger whispered back, eyes locked on the advancing figures. Elias stepped forward, bravely defying the encroaching danger. "You have no right to intrude. Leave us alone!" he roared, voice fierce but laced with fear. A man stepped into the light, his features sharp, lips curled into a sinister smile. Clara's breath hitched as recognition shot through her. She had seen him before. His face adorned magazine covers and talk show interviews. It was Magnus Ravenswood, the very figure who had haunted her nightmares, embodying the betrayal that had stained their family's name. "Elias, my dear nephew," Magnus drawled, his voice like honey laced with arsenic. "I'm here to collect what's mine." "I'm not yours to collect!" Elias shouted, defiance lighting up his eyes. Clara's mind raced, pieces of the puzzle screaming for attention. "Wait, what do you mean collect?" she asked. "Don't pretend you don't know, dear Clara," Magnus said, eyes glinting dangerously. "Your grandmother has kept you hidden far too long. But now, with the secrets you've unearthed, the clock is ticking. You're the key to our legacy." Beatrice's face paled, a flicker of dread crossing her features. "No, I won't let you harm her, Magnus. You're a monster." Magnus laughed, a chilling sound that echoed through the library. "Harm her? Why would I harm my own blood? I plan to embrace the darkness. Clara was never meant to be sheltered from it." The realization dropped like a stone, an icy grip wrapping around Clara's heart. "What do you mean? What darkness?" "I mean to finish what was started. Your connection to the Ravenswoods makes you powerful. Embrace it, and we can bring the others down together," he said, extending a hand toward her. Clara's heart sank. "No, I was never part of this." "Then you'll never know the truth," Magnus countered, eyes narrowing. "Have you ever wondered why Beatrice kept you hidden? The truth could shatter your very existence." The world around Clara spun. The revelations rained down like shards of glass. "You're lying!" "No, darling. I'm offering you a chance to reclaim your destiny." Suddenly, the floor beneath Clara shook violently, slamming everyone to their knees. Books flew from the shelves, a sharp chaos erupting as dust clouded the air. "What's happening?" Clara gasped, seeing panic in the eyes of the stranger. "Run!" Beatrice screamed, pulling Clara to her feet. But Clara hesitated, reality crashing down. Or had it already shifted? Was Magnus right? This hidden power, the choice. What if she was meant for something greater? As they stumbled toward the back exit, Clara felt the dark pull of the Ravenswoods drumming in her veins, and with it a question echoed louder than all the noise. Was she brave enough to confront the truth, no matter how devastating? But the shadows were closing in fast, and before she could decide, the floor trembled again, and the darkness swallowed the room. The floor trembled violently beneath Clara's feet, like the heartbeat of her fear. Books tumbled from the shelves, swirling in chaos. She glanced at Beatrice, panic etched on her grandmother's face. "We have to go." Elias's eyes burned with urgent defiance as he stood his ground against Magnus. "You won't take her," he yelled. The shadows shifted. They're dark. Forms creeping closer. "Enough of this drama," Magnus sneered, raising a hand. "Clara, your true potential is waiting. You don't understand what you're part of." But before she could shout back, the shadows abruptly coalesced, swirling like a dark storm. Clara's heart skipped a beat as they took shape. A young woman emerged from the chaos, her eyes ablaze with a fierce intensity. "Stop!" she commanded, her voice slicing through the tension. It was a figure Clara recognized from family portraits. Heart racing, she whispered, "Lucia?" The air grew thick as the newcomers turned to face this unexpected presence. Lucia Ravenswood, Clara's long-dead aunt, stood there, ethereal yet full of a living energy. "You've all played into a game much. Larger than you realize," she said, her voice a haunting melody. Beatrice stumbled backward, her hands shaking. "Lucia? How is this possible? You're dead." "Yes," Lucia interrupted, a sardonic smile creeping across her lips. "But I've returned. It's time for the truth to be uncovered." Magnus's expression morphed into something darker, a mask of fury and disbelief. "You shouldn't be here," he growled. Lucia glanced at her brother, the tension crackling in the air. "And yet here I am." "Clara," she turned her piercing gaze on her niece. "You need to choose your path. They've toyed with your life long enough." Clara felt her heart pound in her chest. "What do you mean? What path?" "The Ravenswood curse has echoed through our family for generations. Betrayal is in our blood, but so is the chance for redemption," Lucia explained, her tone urgent. "You must decide. Will you embrace the darkness, or will you break free?" "What darkness?" Clara's voice quivered, her entire world spinning. "Why this to me?" Just then, another crash interrupted them. A string of lights overhead shattered, glass raining down like fragile memories. Clara felt the sudden rush of fear, the reality slamming down harder. As she ducked away from the falling shards, the stranger turned sharply, urgency and desperation etched on his face. "We don't have time. They know." "Who knows?" Clara gasped, breath hitching. But in that moment, something clicked, a pulse of understanding. Sparking in the depths of her mind, she grasped at pieces of her family's history, stories from childhood of whispers and shadows, of a raven-haired woman haunting their bloodline. No, it can't be. Before anyone could react, the library doors burst open again. This time, an ominous fog rolled in, swirling thick and heavy. Clara struggled to breathe as it cocooned them, wrapping around her like a vice. And then, in the depths of that dark mist, a figure emerged. Not Magnus. Not the stranger, not even Lucia. No, this was a face Clara knew too well. "Mom?" Clara's voice cracked, fear clawing at the edges of her sanity. "But you left." There she stood, the woman Clara had mourned for years, her expression a mixture of sorrow and pride. "I've been watching over you, Clara. I'm sorry for the legacy you've inherited." Time seemed to shatter. Clara's mind raced with a million questions. "Why didn't you tell me? What is happening?" In that instant, a deafening roar echoed right outside the library, drowning out all sound. Darkness pressed in, threatening to swallow them whole, and Clara realized everything had just shifted. The shadows were twirling, legacies colliding, betrayals resurrecting. Would she have to face the truth of her family, the haunting reality of the past? Or was she destined to be consumed by the very darkness that had haunted her lineage? The question hung thick in the air, her heart pounding against the rhythm of crashing promises, leaving her lost in a storm of secrets. The truth hung in the air like a thick fog, smothering Clara as her mother's presence washed over her. But as the eerie silence gripped the library, a sudden crash echoed from outside, sending chills racing down Clara's spine. She turned just in time to see the fog swirling more intensely, the shape of a figure materializing within. "Get down!" shouted the stranger, pulling everyone back as he shielded Clara. "What is happening?" Clara screamed, feeling her heart pound in her chest, the walls pressing closer. The figure took form, and a familiar face emerged. A man, tall and broad-shouldered, with striking features and dark hair. Clara could only gasp in disbelief. "Charlie?" she whispered, the name escaping like a lost breath. Her brother, presumed dead all those years ago, stood alive and vibrant, his eyes filled with urgency. "Clara, you have to listen," he called, voice strained, cutting through the chaos. "They've been watching us, everything. I didn't want to believe it, but they're the ones behind it all." "What are you talking about?" Clara's mind spun. "How can this be real? You can't be—" "I faked my death," he confessed, the weight of his words suffocating the room once more. "To escape them. But they know you're involved now, and they'll stop at nothing to use you as a pawn." Shock ripped through Clara. Just when she thought she had grappled with the tangled web of madness, everything shifted yet again. "You knew all this time? Why didn't you come back sooner?" "Because I had to protect you. I made mistakes, and now they've come full circle." His voice trembled, and Clara could see the haunted look in his eyes. Magnus, the sinister family member, shifted, his eyebrows knitted with confusion. "You're alive, but that doesn't change a thing. Doesn't it?" Charlie shot back, fierce and resolute. "Clara is neither yours nor anyone else's. She deserves to know the truth, and I will not let them take her." But as he spoke, the atmosphere thickened with tension. The dark mist grew, almost alive, swirling with a life of its own. Clara felt the cold embrace of dread wrapping tighter around her, beginning to suffocate. "Enough of this!" Magnus spat, anger emanating from him like an erupting volcano. With a wave of his hand, the shadows lunged toward Charlie, dark tendrils reaching out, coiling like snakes around him. "Charlie!" Clara cried, panic surging through her veins. The room burst with noise as everyone shouted, scrambling. "Run!" Beatrice yelled, grabbing Clara's hand and tugging her towards the back. But Clara's gaze was glued to her brother, a mixture of fear and helplessness coursing through her. The tendrils wrapped around Charlie, pulling him into the depths of the darkness. "No!" Clara screamed, pulling against Beatrice's grip, her heart racing. But then something unimaginable happened. The shadows stopped, freezing, as if caught in an invisible web. Magnus stood still, eyes wide, disbelief flaring in his features. "What?" Charlie flared with unexpected energy, the shadows retreating as he raised his hands. The expressions on everyone's faces shifting from clarity to confusion. Finally, with a surge of power Clara had never seen, Charlie unleashed a shockwave of sparkling light. Clara watched in awe as the darkness writhed, exposed, the shadowy forms shrieking, fading into nothingness. A blast of energy swept through the room, throwing them all backward. As Clara crashed into the floor, breathless, she could barely comprehend the new reality unfolding. When she looked up, everything had changed. The room was lighter, bathed in a glow that seemed to rise from Charlie. "What just happened?" Beatrice gasped, eyes wide. But Charlie just knelt there, breathless, a look of realization washing over his face. I don't really know. I've tapped into something deeper, something tied to our family, and it leads to an even bigger revelation." "What revelation?" Clara's voice quaked from uncertainty. At that moment, the last slivers of the fog vanished, leaving a profound silence. From the shadows, a new presence emerged, a woman with fiery red hair and radiant eyes. Clara felt an electric pull as she stepped forward, a knowing smile on her face. "Clara, it's time you understand who you really are." And with those words, Clara's heart raced again, fear intertwining with curiosity. Was she really ready to face the very truth that could change everything? Clara stood frozen, staring at her mother, breathless and disbelieving. "Mom?" Her voice trembled as she took a step closer, shock scrambling her thoughts. "But you shouldn't be here." "I've always been here, watching over you," her mother said, her voice steady but filled with sorrow. "I never wanted to leave you. I thought it would keep you safe." But just as Clara reached out, the air thickened again. The shadows flickered at the edges, swirling menacingly, as if responding to the revelation. The stranger, Charlie, positioned himself protectively between Clara and the chaos, determination shining in his eyes. "We can't stay here, Clara. They'll come for us." Clara's heart raced. Doubts and fears crashed around her like waves. Then she noticed the smirk creeping across Magnus's face. "Your mother tries to protect you, but she's a coward," he sneered, venom lacing his words, "leaving you to become the tool of destiny instead." "Shut up!" Clara shouted back, anger surging through her. The world felt like it was falling apart, and she was caught in the middle. "I'm not a pawn in anyone's game." But the shadows seemed to pulse with life, wrapping around Magnus, who looked more formidable by the second. "You think you have a choice?" He mocked. "Your family has been cursed for generations. The darkness feels so familiar to you, Clara. You can't deny your blood." Lucia, still glowing with an otherworldly light, stepped forward. "That's not true, Clara. You have the power to break the cycle. You can choose." But even as she said it, the air seemed to crackle with energy, a rising storm. Clara realized the truth of it. Betrayal ran deep. Shapes began to materialize in the shadows. Figures who hadn't been there moments before. Clara's heart sank. "Look!" Beatrice shouted, straining to catch her breath. The growing figures revealed themselves. Ghostly apparitions of long-lost Ravenswoods, their eyes hollow, filled with rage. Their whispers filled the air, a haunting echo of their tragic stories. "Clara!" one of them called, voice trembling with despair. "You're the one who can make it right." The The words struck Clara like a blow. But just as she felt their weight, a piercing scream shattered the tension. The ground shook violently, and a gleaming orb of light burst through the floor, illuminating the library with blinding brilliance. Clara shielded her eyes as a shockwave rippled outward, throwing everyone off balance. As Clara staggered, the world around her faded into chaos. The light enveloped her entirely, warmth flooding through her veins, and when the glow dimmed, everything shifted. She found herself alone, facing a mirror that reflected not just her image, but visions of her past. Her childhood, the laughter, moments of joy and pain. "No," Clara cried out, breathing heavily, the weight of the memories washing over her. And then suddenly, everything pulled back. The mirror shattered, each shard splintering into infinity. And then she saw it. A young girl, herself. But she was different. Dark hair flowed like shadows behind her, her eyes swirling with chaotic power. "You are me," the girl whispered, "and I am you." Clara staggered back, breath caught in her throat. No, no, this isn't real. But just as the truth clawed at the back of her mind, a shadow darted across the mirror, clawing through reality, bringing with it an unimaginable twist. The girl smiled, not with kindness, but with a grim knowing, as soft laughter echoed in Clara's ears. "You thought we were separate? We've always been one." The revelation hit Clara like a thunderclap. "What do you mean?" she gasped, panic flooding her heart. The girl's eyes glinted with something sinister. "You're not just part of the Ravenswood legacy. You are its heart, and I've been waiting for you." The room tilted beneath Clara's feet, the air thick with confusion. Everything she believed about herself and her family was unraveling like threads from a frayed tapestry. Had she really been chosen for this? Or was she enmeshed in something that would consume her completely? With questions screaming in her mind, Clara felt the shadows closing in. The weight of old family secrets heavier than ever. Would she embrace this dark truth, or would it tear her apart? She was left trembling, caught between two worlds, unsure of which path to choose. Clara stood frozen, her breath quickening as the strange girl before her spoke. "You are me, and I am you." Panic surged within her, swirling like a storm. Everything she knew felt turned inside out. "No," Clara gasped, stumbling back, her mind racing. "What do you mean? This can't be real." But the girl smiled, an unsettling mix of familiarity and malice twisting her features. "You've always felt it, haven't you? The darkness lurking beneath the surface. It's a part of you, just as much as the light is. Embrace it." The mirror shards began to morph, flashing images of betrayal, pain, and bloodshed. Past and present intertwined, leaving Clara dizzy. She could see echoes of her family, their faces contorted in rage, their voices crying out in despair. The weight of generations bore down on her. Just as confusion threatened to consume her, another loud bang echoed through the library. The walls quaked, and an unearthly wail pierced the air. Clara turned, eyes wide, as a door she hadn't even noticed before burst open. Wind whipped through the room, blowing papers and dust into a wild frenzy. And then, from the doorway stepped a figure cloaked in darkness. At first, it was hard to make out who they were, but every instinct screamed danger. Clara squinted against the sudden gust. "Clara!" The voice cut through to chaos, shockingly familiar. "You need to choose!" Heart racing, she gasped. "Dad?" A look of disbelief washed over her father's face. "I thought I lost you. They're coming for you." But as she reached out, desperate to understand. Shadows curled around her father's feet, consuming him. He struggled against an unseen force, light fading from his eyes. "No, stay back!" he yelled, voice echoing like a dying star. Clara felt a chasm open within her. Everything she believed, was it all a lie? The darkness, her mother's shadowy presence, even Charlie, her brother who had faked his own death. It suddenly felt like a house of cards, ready to tumble down at any moment. "No! You're lying! You can't! The Ravenswoods? No!" Then, in an instant, the shadow that had consumed her father dissipated, revealing not his familiar face, but something far more horrific. Clara's eyes widened as the features morphed, twisting into the very likeness of Magnus. "Did you really think you could escape the truth?" Magnus laughed, the sound cold and calculating. "You're just the latest pawn in this disastrous game. Magnus isn't who he says he is," the stranger yelled, pulling Clara back. "He's deceived all of us." "What?" Clara's heart raced. "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, a soft glow emanated from the shards of the shattered mirror, coalescing into a figure, her mother. But even as Clara's heart soared at the sight, a harsh reality sank in. "Mom, you have to help him," Clara pleaded, pointing at her father's image, now completely obscured by shadows. But her mother's eyes turned soft, filled with sympathy. "He made his choices, Clara, just as you will have to make yours." The realization slammed into Clara like a freight train. "What do you mean?" "Your father is tied to the darkness, and so is Magnus. Your connection to them is stronger than you know." "No!" Clara shouted, fighting against the tide that pulled her into despair. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about family, legacy, survival. "Your destiny is bigger than this moment," the girl in the glass whispered, her voice echoing with strength. "You hold the key to the Ravenswood curse, but you must face it, or the darkness will drown you." And just like that, the world shifted again. The floor quaked, and Clara felt herself slipping. Behind her, the stranger's eyes widened in horror. "No, Clara!" The connection snapped, and reality shattered like glass. Clara plunged into a vortex, a kaleidoscope of memories and secrets swirling around her. Voices in the shadows. Something ancient stirred. Would she choose the darkness and risk everything, or fight against it for the chance to rewrite her fate? The weight of destiny pinned her down, and as the world faded to black, one question remained, ringing in her ears. What was the true cost of uncovering the truth? Clara felt herself spiraling through darkness, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The pieces of her life, the whispers of her past, danced in front of her eyes, and just as she reached out to grasp something solid, the darkness receded. The world exploded back into focus. She gasped for breath as the library materialized around her, lights flickering back on, illuminating the chaos that lay strewn across the room. Books and papers fluttered like leaves caught in a storm. The air was thick with tension, a silent scream echoing in the lingering shadows. "Clara!" Her mother's voice cut through the noise, but the warmth that usually came with it felt distant and hollow. Her mother's figure stood there, solid yet ethereal, radiating an unsettling glow. "You can break the curse. You have to confront the darkness." "No!" Clara shook her head, panic clawing at her throat. "I'm done fighting! I just want the truth." The air shifted again, swirling with an electric hum that buzzed through her skin. And then, in a flash of brilliance, a shadow leaped into The light and unearthly presence emerged, more powerful than the others. Clara's breath caught as she realized who it was. Her father. But this time, he wore a dark crown of shadows, a twisted grin etched on his face. "Daddy?" she whispered, trembling with disbelief. "Is that really you?" His eyes glinted like the depths of midnight. "Ah, my sweet Clara, you've always been such a disappointment." The words wrapped around her like a noose, squeezing the air from her lungs. "All this time, you thought you were fighting to escape the Ravenswood legacy, but you were meant to embrace it." "No!" Clara cried, her heart thumping wildly. "You're wrong! I won't let you control me!" But the room shifted. Again, the walls swirling like a whirlpool, rocks and books morphing into swirling shadows. "You're too late!" he sneered, extending a wicked hand. "The darkness has always been a part of you, just like it was meant to be a part of me. Together, we can rule this legacy." "No!" Clara shouted, but the shadows lunged forward, wrapping around her arms, tightening like chains. Fear clawed at her chest, a vice grip that threatened to crush her. Suddenly, her mother stepped forward, defiant. "No, Clara, listen to me. He's not your father like you think he is." "What?" The words felt heavy, weighty as her world tilted. "What do you mean?" Her mother's face twisted in agony. "What he hid from you all these years. The Ravenswood name, it's a curse, yes, but it's not just that. It's a legacy birthed from betrayal. But more than that, Clara, he isn't even your real father." Silence. The breath slipped from Clara's chest. She staggered back, shaking her head, unable to process it. "What? No!" "Your real father," her mother began. But before she could finish, a piercing scream cut through the air. The shadows pressed in tighter, energies colliding. The light dimmed, and the harsh laughter echoed from Magnus. "You thought it could be that simple? Your family is built on lies, Clara, and both of your parents have manipulated you." His voice taunted, his form looming with a sinister authority. The shadows fell silent for a moment, and Clara felt a wave of confusion wash over her. She glanced between her parents. "Who is he, then? Why did you hide it from me?" But the moments stretched, shrouded in uncertainty. The darkness flickered, and as if summoned by her questions, the room began to pulse and quiver, an impending storm. "Your real father is someone you cannot imagine," her mother whispered, the tension thickening the air. "It's someone in the shadows, someone far closer than you realize." Suddenly, Clara could feel reality shifting underfoot, the very foundations of her life unmooring. "Who? Who is it?" But before anyone could answer, the walls around them cracked, spilling forth an even deeper darkness. Clara's heart raced, and she had just enough time to realize the shadows had their own will. "No!" she screamed, understanding dawning. "I have to know! I have to face this truth!" The realization snapped something deep inside her. But the room roared, a cacophony of chaos swirling about, leaving Clara on the edge of a precipice. Would the truth free her, or wait bury her under crushing secrets? And as she felt herself teetering on the brink, she wondered if she truly had the strength to embrace whatever lay ahead. Could she face the revelations that might change everything forever? Clara's heart hammered in her chest as the chaos swirled around her, reality quaking. Like the world itself was on the brink of collapse. Shadows writhed, clamoring for her attention. But she clenched her fists, focusing on her mother's anguished expression. "Tell me," she demanded, voice trembling with emotion. "Who is my real father?" "Clara," her mother started, trembling but resolute. "Your true father is the one who was meant to protect you. He was locked away, hidden from you, and the darkness that has tormented our family for years. The realization slammed into Clara, dawning over her like a tide rolling in. Locked away? But I thought. Her words faltered, uncertainty clawing at her insides. I thought I had no family left. Another crash reverberated through the room, sending tremors down her spine. Magnus sneered, the shadows coiling around him, darkness seeping into the air. Your father is dead to you. He was weak, just like the rest of this pathetic lineage. Clara felt hot fury ignite within her. He may have been weak, but I refuse to let you define me. I'm not bound by your twisted legacy. The shadows recoiled momentarily, her words slicing through the darkness like a beam of light. Clara! Charlie's voice broke through her determination, sharp and urgent. Focus! The darkness is only as strong as you allow it to be. You have the power to break this cycle. The shadows sneered, closing in further, as Clara took a deep breath, gathering herself. She could feel the strength of her lineage coursing through her veins, an echo of generations past. I do have the power, she whispered, taking a step forward. But it's not yours to control. Light surged from her fingertips, shattering the dark cloud around her. Clara unleashed all the pent-up energy, calling on her ancestors, channeling their strength and wisdom. The brilliance illuminated the library, revealing anguished faces trapped within the swirling shadows. Release them, she commanded, and the shadows writhed in protest, shrinking back. With a determined shout, Clara thrust her hand forward, sending a shockwave rippling through the darkness. Waves of light cascaded outward, breaking the chains binding her family's souls. No, Magnus roared, eyes wild as the light clashed. Against the shadows, Clara felt an exhilarating rush of freedom, both for herself and the spirits of those long tormented. Suddenly, with an earth-shattering roar, everything imploded. Clara was tossed back, landing painfully on the floor. The blinding light surrounded her, and as she shielded her eyes, she felt a deep warmth envelop her. When the light faded, the library stood still, transformed. No shadows lingered. The air felt lighter, more open. Clara slowly stood, breathless. Her mother approached, with tears glistening in her eyes. You did it, she said, voice thick with emotion. You broke the curse. Clara's chest tightened with an overwhelming sense of relief and closure. And my real father? She pressed, uncertainty creeping in again. A gentle smile spread across her mother's face. He is free now, Clara, as are you. You've forged your path, and no one can take that from you. The remnants of the broken shadows faded into nothingness, leaving behind a serene calm. Clara turned to Charlie, who looked at her with admiration. You're not only brave, Clara, you're the heart of this legacy now. For the first time, Clara felt at peace with being part of the Ravenswood lineage, finally free from its dark grip. She stepped forward and hugged her mother tightly, the warm embrace washing away years of pain and confusion. As the last whispers of darkness vanished, Clara glanced around the now bright library. This place that had once felt suffocating was filled with stories of hope, redemption, and a newfound sense of identity. She realized she was ready to write her own story, one not dictated by the shadows of the past. I'm ready, Clara finally said, determined, to embrace who I am. With her mother and brother by her side, the three of them walked out of the library together, stepping into the crisp autumn air. They were no longer bound by grief, but fueled by the understanding that they could shape their destiny. Clara turned to her family, feeling lighter than she had ever felt before. Let's create our own legacy, she declared, and they stepped forward into a bright future filled with endless possibilities. But before she could take another breath, the screen flickered, and a strange voice cut through the calm. "Hey, wait a second!" Startled, Clara turned to face the audience, the weight of her journey suddenly tangible. "You have to subscribe right now! This is the moment to show your support. The only way you'll stay connected to our evolving story is by smashing that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Your voices matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your support is what fuels this community, so let's keep it growing.